Hey everyone, I just came out of the sea a few moments ago and I want to share with you an experience I had today that I found very interesting. So, here's what happened. I met with someone with the possibility discussing a session together, and it didn't work out, and that's fine. What's interesting about it is the why, and what comes, the lessons that come from it, because actually there are two contradicting forces in our perception that appeared in this interaction. And I find this very interesting for everyone, and I want to share. So let me give you a bit briefly some of the details. Basically, I met with someone, they wanted a past life regression session. It's something I do. And as we were talking and see if we are a good fit to work together, they expressed the demand that I should be believing in past lives to be able to facilitate this for them. And basically my response was that I believe in many things, and that when I facilitate, I go with the beliefs of the person I facilitate for. So essentially, I told them that my own beliefs are not part of the game. And by doing that, I didn't say, yes, I believe that past lives really exist, because for me that's not what's at stake here. But that led us to something very, very interesting. That led us to an interesting point where it seemed there was a connection with them that in order to know something, one has to believe in it, right? How can I know about past lives? How can I have experienced past lives if I don't believe in them? And that's the thing. I can experience things. I can immerse myself in the experience of different beliefs without necessarily saying that this is the single truth. So I couldn't give them, this idea of single truth about a specific philosophy they were asking from me. And that's why it didn't work out. Now, here is why this is very interesting. It's very interesting for two reasons. First of all, I applaud this person's decision not to continue in an interaction when they felt their own criteria were not being satisfied, like they stayed true to what they considered important. And that's really valuable, and it's really honest, sincere, and aligned with themselves. They remained aligned with themselves. On the other hand, here's the interesting thing, right? On the other hand, these conditions, these criteria they had, essentially they put some limitations on when it's appropriate for them to have some experiences, with which people they can have some experiences, and with which people not. So fundamentally, essentially, today they could have had an experience and they didn't have it. And that makes me wonder on a more general level, not in these interactions, right? To what extent, right, our own criteria about how we engage with something and how we don't eventually leads us to exclude opportunities. Because on some level this was an opportunity for them and they passed it, and that's fine, it's up to them. But on another level, by doing so they remain true to themselves. So it's this thing that at sometimes we want to grow. If we want to, go beyond what we already know, we have to go sometimes even beyond the certainties of our own criteria. We have to be able to hold many truths, have different criteria in place, and be flexible in how we approach things, and be able to adopt different beliefs. And the only way to do that is if we entertain the thought, the idea, and then take the steps to move a bit further from our old criteria. And here I will speak with a personal example. Myself, for example, I wouldn't have escaped chronic pain if I haven't gone beyond my very strict scientific criteria of viewing the world. So adopting an expansive mindset allowed me to improve my life massively. and have more experiences. And an expansive mindset, the need for an expansive mindset actually seems to apply this need not only for science people, but also for spiritual people. Sometimes even in spirituality, people get stuck in these very dogmatic truths, right? That you need to believe in this as a truth in order to facilitate it, or I need to believe in past lives to experience them, or to have knowledge, you need to have belief. What if it could be vice versa? What if someone through knowledge they get to some belief? Or what if one can hold many different beliefs and can hold different criteria? And that's a flexible type of thinking, right? Having this flexible type of thinking of different criteria, of entertaining different beliefs that come from different experiences is part of what I like to call exploring the multiverse of self. All we can be, all we can believe, right? And sometimes, this may need to contradict things that we hold very tightly, very strictly as true or as necessities for other things to happen. And then it may feel we are going a bit out of alignment with ourselves. But that's what we need to do to develop flexibility. When we stretch in the gym, we increase our flexibility by causing tiny micro tears in our muscles. And as they heal, we become more flexible. And it's the same thing with our experiences, with our mind. So, yeah, I'm curious what you think about that. How does it resonate with you? Have you experienced similar situations in your life where you felt you had to go beyond your current criteria because there was a necessity for new experiences, and then you reframed things, you became more flexible about your criteria? Or, a more tricky thing, right? Because that's what we don't realize. In retrospective, you can see what opportunities you may have rejected unknowingly back then because you felt that, your criteria were not being met, right? That's another interesting one. And that's the thing, for today, with my interaction with this person, eventually our session, our past life regression didn't happen. But I believe we left our meeting with something valuable for both of us, right? I think they had to reconsider if knowledge requires belief. And I had to consider, right, how strongly, because essentially what I told them is look, I'm multi-gnostic. It's not that I believe in one thing, it's not that I am agnostic. I adopt many different belief systems that support experiences. But obviously when they asked me, I didn't fully go into the belief system of someone who really believes in past life regressions, right? So that's something for me, how deeply I can express different belief systems that connect with experiences. So I think we both left with something valuable for this. And that's the thing, when we meet with someone on a broader level, that's something for you, okay? On a broader level, when we meet with someone with an expectation for an interaction, and then we find there is a mismatch, and the interaction eventually doesn't happen, okay? Because we find our truths, our perceptions of the world in different ways don't match. And sometimes we may feel disappointed from that. I certainly feel a lot like that sometimes. Well, it's interesting, right? Because the interesting thing is instead of being disappointed, what is the lesson, right? What was the truth of the other person we didn't meet? And what does it mean for us? How we are not flexible when we don't meet their truth. And they can ask themselves the same question as well. Okay, that's it. Let me know what you think. I'd love to know what you think. These are my own insights from this. Have you met similar situations in your life? Have you encountered situations like this? Have they created little light bulbs in your head? That's it for now. Okay, I'm gonna go. My swim is over. Take care, everyone. Bye.